Hello all, my name is Vianey Lemos Martinez, and this is a video to talk about my Technology Integration Planning Report. I will first be talking about my report, and then I will walk you all a little bit through the lesson that I would actually do with my students to help them integrate this new technology. So first, let's talk about who do I work with. I am currently a fourth grade teacher. I work with roughly about 40 students. All of my students are bilingual students as well as their parents. So we predominantly speak Spanish, but also English. And I focus in reading and writing. And I also work in a Tier 3 campus, which means that we have very limited resources, especially when it comes down to technology. We definitely do not have enough for each student, but we have managed different systems to definitely make it work and in a way give access to technology for every student, even if it's once or twice a week. The culture in the campus, however, is very cheerful and supportive. There are many different teachers are willing to collaborate, and our librarian is also really awesome at helping teachers to try to incorporate technology into their classrooms. The only problem, though, however, is that a lot of times we have limited parental support, whether it's because of language barriers or because parents have other priorities, whether it is that they have to work in order to have a shelter and food for their household. So sometimes it is very hard to get parents to support our work from home. Excuse me. Second, I would like to talk about our current technological environment within our school. So compared to other Tier 3 campuses, I would say that we do have access to more technology. I think a lot of this has to do just because of the willingness and the determination of many teachers within the campus that work really hard to try to incorporate or find different ways to get more access to technology for our campus. So currently we have about 2 Chromebook cards with 35 Chromebooks each. We have 3 iPad cards with 12 iPads each, and we also have 2 computer labs. However, even though you may notice that we do have some access, we are in a campus of 500 plus students, which makes this a very limited resources still for the amount of students that we have. As far as access, my students, for example, we can go to the computer lab once a week for about 50 minutes. However, this time when we do go to the computer, it's already slotted for a specific reading program. So unless my students finish early, they cannot do anything else other than that reading program, which is definitely very limiting. Other than that, we have access to 7 Chromebooks every day within our classroom and also 3 desktops. They don't always work. Most of the time we have access to 2. So in total we have about 9 to 10, but we typically use those during centers. Students can do either reading programs or they can do reading quizzes or other activities. I've definitely tried to incorporate different websites or different activities that they can do, but it is hard to find the time to teach them how to use it. So because of our limited access, some of the challenges that I have noticed is that my students just have a lot of trouble troubleshooting simple tasks. For example, if they have to open a new window on the computer, they don't know how to do that. Or if they have to read the instructions just to get to the different pages, they feel that they have a hard time doing those simple tasks. And I think it's just because since they don't have access to a computer or technology often, they don't feel like they can just navigate through these simple tasks, which I think that would be something that could be helpful. Something else that I also noticed they struggle with a lot, even though they're in fourth grade, is simply typing. But again, that is a skill that you have to learn and you have to take time to practice. And because they don't have access to technology often, they don't get a lot of practice with that. So what is my plan of action? For my classroom, my plan of action right now is to focus on using Nearpod. A problem that I have noticed over time is that whenever I do my whole group lessons, a lot of students tend to either disengage, even though it's only 10 to 15 or 20 minutes at most. They tend to disengage, they sometimes appear a little bit distracted, and unfortunately it is often those students that need the most support. I've also noticed that a lot of times during this part of the lesson, the conversation is led specifically by students that are high achievers or that understand the concepts really well so they feel comfortable. And even though other students may also pitch in every now and then, I can see that they don't feel as comfortable contributing to the class. Oftentimes it's just because they're a little bit scared that they're going to make a mistake or that they're going to say the wrong thing. So with the Nearpod technology, with this technology, what I'm hoping is that my students will be more engaged and that they're going to also feel a sense of accountability. They're going to know that the teacher knows exactly who is participating, what are they saying, how are they participating, so that way nobody's just kind of going along with what everyone is saying, but everyone really has to say so into their learning. So I'm really hoping that this is going to make students be a little bit more engaged. It's going to keep them accountable. And also they're just going to be looking forward to using technology a little bit more. So they're going to be more like engaged and motivated already. I look forward to using this technology about twice a week during my whole group lessons. And then hopefully I can incorporate it even more as the days go by. As far as instruction, the way that I'm envisioning to help my students to interact with Nearpod and be able to use it, I would like to use a video to kind of just help them see what it is, what it offers. However, a lot of the videos right now are tailored towards teachers and features that teachers can use, but not really how students can see it. So I think I'm going to have to be doing a lot of that myself. Also, I'm going to do a practice lesson so that they can see features. For me, it's really important for them to not be worrying about getting something right or wrong, but really just exploring what the Nearpod has. So when I do this lesson with them, it's really just going to be a lot of just for fun. They're going to see it like that because there's not really going to be content per se, but it's just so that they get to explore and to see what is there. So I'm going to lead a little mini lesson just so that they can see, and we're going to have some activities throughout. And then also I plan to have a respect agreement to talk with them about what are the expectations of use whenever we're doing a whole group lesson and we're getting to use Nearpod. Now, my expected results. For me, overall, my goal is to increase students' engagement during whole group mini lessons. And this is not only like some students, but I want to make sure that everyone in my classroom is engaged throughout the lesson. Because unfortunately, as a teacher, I know that it is hard. I mean, we are humans and it is hard to make sure to keep every single student engaged 100% of the time. And unfortunately, one or two students often fall behind. So for me, using Nearpod is really an opportunity to be able to, at the moment, see who's engaged, but also even helps me to reflect because I can go back to my Nearpod lesson and see, okay, who was actually engaged? I remember this student, but did I hear from this student? Did I see their answers? So I think it's going to really give me quality feedback to see how my students are experiencing a lesson. When I look at the SAMR model, I notice that this program will fall under augmentation simply because it does improve the experience that my students would have with something like a PowerPoint, which is something that I already use. But using Nearpod would really allow them to feel more in part of the lesson rather than just watching me or hearing me, which I think would be a really great opportunity. And for me, the way that I would be able to measure my student success would be that I can use the open-ended questions to see how students are understanding the content. Or there's also the paramatch feature that I can use for them to like recall information, or even use the post feature so that they can communicate in a way, maybe they verbalize with a student, but then also type out what they're thinking and what they're understanding. So I think using the different activities that Nearpod offers would give me different ways for me to assess their understanding of lessons. And again, for me, it's really important that it's not just going to be at the moment, but I can go back later on and really just take time to reflect on how my lesson went, maybe what students are falling through the cracks, maybe what students are doing really well and can pair with other students to support each other. So I think in all this this program of Nearpod can really help me in many different ways. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk you a little bit through what my lesson with my students would look like. I decided to use blend space. So first I would introduce them my objectives for the day. We will explore features of Nearpod and understand how it can improve our learning. For me, it's really important for my students to know, okay, we're going to be using this program, but how can it help me to improve my learning? And then the I will for them is I will interact with the features in Nearpod to demonstrate my understanding of each during a fun lesson. So first here I'm going to tell them a little bit about what Nearpod is. Obviously it's very similar to PowerPoint, or for them it's going to seem similar. However, I want to highlight that the features or activities is really what's going to make it unique and what's going to help them to be more involved. After that, I'm going to just walk them very simply through how to find the website, because I want to make sure that they know how to do that. So we're going to go to nearpod.com and they should see a similar site of what I'm seeing on the screen. I took a screenshot of my page so that they could see exactly what it's going to look like. And then the section where they're going to go in as students to put in the code, since for Nearpod they need a specific code to log in into my slides or what I'm going to be presenting to them. So after that, I'm going to share with them the code so that they go and grab the computer and then they're going to log in. And fortunately for my students, they already know how to do all of that. So that's very easy. They can get to Google. So once we're in Google, then we can go ahead and go to Nearpod. And then they will be able to put in their code to join the class. And then this was just the link for them to be able to get to Nearpod. So now my Nearpod lesson, it would look a little bit something like this. This one is just waiting still on students to sign in. But I don't have any students right now signing in. It's just for practice. However, I would start first with, like I said, we're going to start practicing using Nearpod. So we're going to try different activities that this program offers. And I want to highlight to them that many of these activities are going to be activities that we're going to be using during class. So they need to make sure to pay attention and they need to make sure to try them. So that way they know that today we're just doing it just to try and see and explore. But from now on, they're expected to know how to use these activities because we're going to incorporate them into our learning. So some of the features that I have is, for example, I have the collaboration. So again, here you can see that I have a very simple question. If you found $1,000, what would you buy and why? So in here, students are going to get the opportunity to just write about a fun topic, but they're getting to actually use this feature already. Next, I have my activity of pairing or matching. And I said another cool feature of Nearpod is that we can practice what we learn by using matching pairs. This can be helpful with vocabulary or content. So here, students are going to get to see different matches, and then they're going to pair them. Mine looks a little different because I have the teacher one, but for them, they're going to see all the different matches that here you see the final one. And I have very simple things that I know may seem silly, but I want my students to simply focus on knowing how to use the program rather than knowing how to prove content to me. I'm going to highlight again that we already see awesome features, right? So sometimes in my class, I incorporate video. So the next one that I also wanted to incorporate was a video. And actually, I can choose whether I want to just watch it in mine or if I want all of the students to see it. So for this one, I would just press on my device if I want all students to pay attention simply to mine. Next, I also incorporated the activity of open-ended question. So here I said, how do you think Nearpod will help us to better learn? Again, because I want my students to know that Ms. Lemus is not using this program just for fun. Even though it is fun, we're using it, but there is a purpose, and I want them to understand that. And here they will be able to see that, I will be able to see that they're putting in their answers and what they're contributing to, and then also how many students are actually contributing, which is really helpful because when we're in the classroom, sometimes it's hard to make sure that every student is having something to contribute. So I think this would be helpful for me, but also for them to know that throughout the whole lesson, I am still keeping them accountable. And it is not just one person being accountable, but everyone in the classroom. For the rest of the lesson, I will continue to walk students through different features that are offered on Nearpod. And they would just get the chance to, again, just try to find different ways to participate. And then we would just talk about what the features were and which ones did we like, and then how we're going to continue to see them in the classroom. Thank you.